Alright guys, so this month I read 3 novels and 2 volumes of Korean manhwa, and I had 1 soft DNF. I want to give a special and very heartfelt thank you to all of my patrons that are supporting the channel and my writing journey. You guys mean the absolute world to me. Thank you so much for your support. If you're wondering if I sound a little funny, you're not wrong. I am at the tail end of the worst sickness I've had all year, and it's been about a week. And so excuse me and bear with me while I sound gross. All right. May was a month. May was my birthday month, and I had a wonderful birthday with my family, and then I went up and visited my very best friend in the whole wide world, Sarah from Sparrow Springs. I will link her channel down in the description. And I had a really good month that way. I took a step back from reading in the sense that I didn't get through as many things as I thought I was going to. But that was okay. I needed a recharge month after April. The readathon that I did in April was very fun. My team was awesome. But it did definitely burn me out to the point where I needed a little bit of recharge in May. And so I just didn't push it at all. I read what I felt like, and I did finish a buddy read in May that I've been putting off for months. So massive thank you to my buddy read partner, Read by Kyle, also down in the description, for being patient with me while I finally got to this buddy read. So yeah, this is going to be a little bit of a shorter update for you guys for the end of May here, but I'm already feeling a lot better here in June, and next month I plan on having a lot more content for you guys, and I'm really enjoying kind of jumping back into reading a little bit more seriously. The first book that I finished in the month of May was Before They Are Hanged. If you want to watch my reading vlog and watch me read the book, I will link that up in the cards so you guys can go see this. At this point, I want to give a special shout out to my good friend Ty from the channel, Ty the Reader Guy. We have been buddy reading the First Law books together since we started back in April, and he is a brand new YouTube channel with some really awesome content. So I want you to go check out his videos, like, and give him a subscribe. Overall, I feel like this book was a massive step up from The Blade itself, which is book 1 in the First Law trilogy by Joe Abercrombie. Really enjoyed it. There were a few things I could have done without. There were some certain adult scenes later on during the book that I really just, whatever. To keep it spoiler free for you guys for this video, I just thought that the characterization took a big step up. He built on all of the things that I loved in book 1. I loved the characters even more in this book, and I felt like because I was already familiar with his writing style and the characters from book 1, that I immediately just kind of settled into the read for book 2. I didn't really push myself to read this one as fast as I had read The Blade itself in April, and that was I think a good step for this one because I really settled in and enjoyed the book a lot more and gave myself the time to be with the characters and just kind of go with the flow a little bit more. So this book also has now one of my favorite individual chapters, I think, in fantasy. There's a chapter in here called So This Is Pain, and it's a little over halfway through the book. So if you've read the book or you have a copy, you'll be able to see which one that is. There's a character arc that's happening in book 2 that I really, really liked a lot, just in terms of how it was written, and it was really impactful. And I'm also happy to say that I don't have any clue where he is going for the end of this trilogy. I have no idea, which is kind of weird, honestly, because usually in fantasy stories I can predict some things about the ending of series. This one, I have no idea where Abercrombie is going to go with it, and that's actually kind of fun. So I'm looking forward to reading Last Argument of Kings in June and finding out what the ending looks like, because I have no idea. The next book that I read was a buddy read, like I mentioned, with Read by Kyle down in the description below. And we've been planning on reading this book since early 2023, I think. And it just kept getting pushed back because there were so many things going on. And we finally got to it. And that was Lancelot by Giles Christian. I have my dedicated review for it up in the cards up here. So this was not my favorite, and you can, I linked the dedicated review up there for you guys so that you can hear more of my thoughts on it if you would like. In fairness to the book, Arthurian legends usually are not something that I'm really drawn to that much, but I do enjoy the character of Lancelot. So I was anticipating enjoying this a lot from being told from his perspective. I feel like this book was very messy in terms of pacing and character motives, and I really struggled with it. I'm not gonna lie. It has some intensely beautiful prose. Like, Giles Christian's prose is really lovely, and I'm looking forward to I do have another Giles Christian historical fiction on my shelf that I'm intending to read. I think it's called Blood Eye or something like that, from a different time period. The romance in this book really fell flat for me, and I do not feel like that's because I typically don't enjoy romance, but this was really, it just felt very underdeveloped, I think. But that being said, I am very glad that I did this as a buddy read, because it really helped to be able to kind of talk through and articulate a lot of the things that I was struggling with and seeing in the story with Kyle, and that helped a lot, I think, get through the book. I'm definitely open to reading something else by Giles Christian, but this one, unfortunately, was a miss for me. All right, next up, I read 2 volumes of Solo Leveling by Chugong. These are Korean manhwa volumes, which are basically manga, but Korean, for anybody who's not familiar with that term. I didn't realize that there was a difference in the terms until the last couple of years, when I started watching Patrick's channel and he was talking about manhwa and manga and all of that stuff, because I'm familiar with manga, obviously, but I didn't realize that there was a different term for Korean graphic novels. So Solo Leveling is the story of a young man named Jinwoo Sung, who is a dungeon hunter, which basically there are these dungeons with these monsters, and these different levels or ranks of hunters are sent in to clear the dungeons and get the treasure and come back out and get paid, which I like as a general concept. Jinwoo Sung, as the main character, is considered one of the weakest hunters in existence, and he kind of gets some ribbing for it, but he's determined, and he keeps going into the dungeons and trying to do what he can to provide for his family and get stronger. So the artwork in these was beautiful. I really love, let me see if I can find a good page for you guys. The artwork in this is just really stunning. And I really liked the concept of, the dungeon hunter kind of vibe. It's very video game vibes. It reminds me a lot of some of the games that I used to play in high school and early college. One of my favorite games of all time was called Dungeon Runners, and it's no longer in operation. Unfortunately, it closed, but that game was my jam when I was in high school. So definitely the idea of these kind of leveled dungeons is something that I'm very familiar with, and I thought it would be kind of fun to read. That being said, so I read 2 volumes, and I did get volume 3 from the library. I don't know if I'm going to continue the series. This is progression storytelling, which means that the character is leveling up as we go, and he's fighting harder and harder bosses, monsters, etc. I'm having a hard time reading that. I don't know that that's a good fit for me as a reader, because I think I'd rather just play a game rather than read a story about somebody else doing it. And a lot of the technical terms of like, you've leveled up, here's your items kind of stuff in book format just isn't something that I find, like, I'm not really enjoying that style of storytelling. The story was, I really liked volume 1 a lot. I thought it was interesting, and it brought in a lot of cool characters that I was excited to see move on, and the gameplay was definitely very tense. When I got to volume 2, There's a bit of a change up that happens at the end of volume 1 that I didn't really love the direction that the story took. There's a part, and I realize that this is a me thing, so take it with a grain of salt, but there's a part where Jinwoo comes out and he's leveled up from a recent dungeon experience, and he comes out and it's like instant, like he's physically leveled up. So he comes out and we get a shot of like his abs and his, you know, biceps and blah. And there's a character who says, was he always this hot? It's just not me, guys. Like, I don't need my characters to level up in hotness when they get stronger. That's like, I don't know. That's a me thing. But I busted out laughing when I got to that page because I was just like, okay. I completely understand why this is popular. I think that it's just personally not a good fit for me in terms of storytelling. I love the art. I love the idea of dungeon hunters, and I would love to see a non-progression fantasy with that kind of a concept in a manhwa or manga. Down in the comments, please let me know if you think that there is a manga that I would enjoy along that lines, because I am definitely looking to taste test more. Then I did read a review copy this month as well. We have Combat Codes by Alexander Darwin. This is a martial arts inspired fantasy written by a author who is a Brazilian jiu-jitsu martial artist, and he's very high level. So Combat Codes, I believe, is coming out on the 13th of June, so very soon here. And it is a story that takes place in a world where instead of large armies being sent against each other to solve political or territorial differences, etc., it is one-on-one martial arts master matchups. It's kind of the idea of the duel of champions in a way that we see a lot in fantasy and historical settings. We follow the story of a young boy named Chago. I'm pretty sure that's how you pronounce his name. I'm not sure, but correct me if I'm wrong. Who kind of comes out of nowhere, and he stumbles into the underground of this society and is picked up by these kind of underground level ring fighter groups. Chago is very talented, and he's definitely kind of a soft chosen one trope, and he catches the attention of a has-been champion, Murray Pearson. I went into it kind of expecting a little bit more on the already champion side of things, like Murray Pearson, the mentor character, and I ended up with a story that was much more a coming of age, kind of a training academy, which was fine. It just that wasn't the expectation that I had going into it, so I had to adjust my expectations a little bit for what I thought the story was going to be. Overall, I definitely can tell that this book is written by someone who knows martial arts inside and out, and that was a really cool thing to be able to read, because I always love seeing when people are really bringing their experience into their storytelling. The terminology did get a little heavy at times during the book, but overall I appreciated the care that was taken in setting up what was happening and how people were moving and all of the things that, so I did appreciate that. There were some really great little motley crew moments once Chago gets to the academy and he meets some of the other trainees and gets put on a team. Overall, in the beginning, I struggled a lot more than I did in the second half of the book. I think there's just a lot of schoolyard bully stuff going on, and I just kind of got tired of that because there was so much of it, and then we got to the academy and there was more of it. Yeah, overall, I think this was a really solid read. I think that Alexander Darwin has a really great story here, and I'm curious to see where he goes with it in the next book if I pick that up. I will say that one of the things I think is a massive strength for this book is the reveals toward the end of the book of Chago's backstory and what actually happened and where he came from. But I finished that one and put my review on NetGalley. That was the first NetGalley request that I've put in 2 years, I think. So now I have 2 NetGalley reviews out. And then last but not least, I did have a soft DNF this month, which basically just means that I'm putting it to the side for a while. I will maybe finish it at some point, I'm not sure. But I started reading Cytonic by Brandon Sanderson. This is book 3. in his Skyward YA series. Book 4, I think, is coming out in this year yet. I loved Skyward. I loved Skyward. I thought it was really cool. I loved the characters. I loved the world. I loved the concept of the story. Starsight, book 2, I liked aspects of it, but it took a massive turn into kind of a direction I didn't love for the story, but I went with it and I was like, okay, it's fine. Like, yep, got this. Moving on. And then I got to Cytonic, and I did get a good chunk in. I think I'm about 130 pages into Cytonic. I kind of feel like this book is Brandon Sanderson throwing Ender's Game and Journey to the Center of the Earth in a blender. The writing was really clunky in this one for me. The dialogue was just not my favorite. I really didn't like the direction that the story is taking. I feel like he's kind of left behind a lot of the things that I loved about book 1, and he's going off on this completely different direction, which he's allowed to do. It's his book. He can do whatever he wants. I may go back and finish it at some point, but I'm honestly just kind of disappointed, I think, in where the series is going, because it started out so strong and I really loved book 1, and I feel like he's just kind of left a lot of what I loved behind to explore new things, and it's not really landing for me. So I'm gonna put it down for a while. We'll see if I pick it back up or not. I'm not sure. I appreciate you guys if you've stuck with me this long with my frog voice for this video. Thank you. I appreciate you. But yeah, I had a really slow month this month, and that was okay. And I would say my book of the month was definitely Before They Are Hanged. That was my 5-star read for the month. Yeah, I feel like we had a good month this month in just recharging and taking a step back, getting kind of jazzed up for June, where I have a lot of fun reads planned, as you saw in my June TBR. So I'm really looking forward to it. And yeah, I hope you guys are having 5-star reads yourselves. I hope you're having a great week, and I will see you in the next video.